So you're thinking about buying Disney Vacation Club. Should you do it? This is the video for you. Hi, welcome to my channel, Disney Hobby Guides. Like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications. Your support is greatly appreciated and helps me grow this channel. So let's get right to it. What is Disney Vacation Club? Disney Vacation Club, or DVC for short, is Disney's version of a timeshare program. How it works is you secure a certain amount of points, and you get those points every single year until the expiration of your deed. You also have to pay annual dues, which increase at a roughly around 3 to upwards of 10% every single year until your deed expires. Okay. So when you get those points, you take those points and you can book either 11 or 7 months in advance, depending on where you own and where you don't own. Okay. Let's put that into an example so then we can understand that better. Okay. Let's say we're going to talk about two properties today. We're going to talk about the villas at the Grand Californian, which is in California, and we're going to talk about Alani, which is in Hawaii. Okay. Let's say you have an ownership interest, or you own at Disney's Grand Californian. What that means is at the time of this filming, it's February 22. So if it's February 22, you can book all the way out at the Grand Californian January 22nd of 2023. Anytime from now until January 22nd of 2023, you can secure a room there at the Grand Californian. Let's say you own at the Grand Cal, but you're looking at booking at Alani, which is a place that you don't own. What that means is you can book Alani from now until September 22 of this year, 2022. That's 7 months out, by the way. So it's kind of important to know where you want to own, because depending on where you own, you get a 4-month booking advantage window, which is really, really important for really high demand resorts like the villas at the Grand Californian, right? The next part of that is, how do you get points for whatever resort you want to own at? Well, there's two ways of doing it. You can go and say, you know what? Hi, Disney, I want some points. Can you give me some points? Can I buy some points from you guys? Or you can go and buy a resale contract. Okay. What is a resale contract? A resale contract means that somebody went to Disney and bought points directly from them. They did what they needed to do to get those points from Disney, and then later on down the road, they decided, you know what, I don't need Disney Vacation Club anymore, or I don't want it anymore, and they would sell it out to a second person, and that second person who buys that contract will be buying a resale contract. It could also mean maybe somebody bought a resale contract at one point, and they decided, you know what, I don't want this resale contract anymore, and they might sell it back out to somebody else, to a third buyer. But the point is with resale is that you didn't buy it directly from Disney. You bought it through another person. Okay. So those are the two ways that you can get your points. If you want to join Disney Vacation Club, you first need to ask yourself a couple of questions. Where is the property that you want to stay at the most? And if that property is available through Disney Direct, do you want to buy it direct, or do you want to buy a resale contract? So let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of both. If you're buying direct from Disney, currently what they stipulate is that you need to buy 150 points directly from Disney at one time, or as a combination of several times. But the idea is that you need 150 points bought through direct in some shape or form, for you to get the membership discount card, pretty much, or the blue card, right? Once you do that, you have ungated access to the entire system, pretty much. So if you own at the Disney Grand Californian, at 7 months, you can book any other DVC property, assuming that you bought direct, right? You can book any other DVC property. If there's a new property that comes out, like the Disneyland Hotel Tower, that's in the making, because you bought direct with Disney, you can stay there. If you want to stay at Riviera, which is one of their newest resorts right now, you can stay there. If you're direct, your points are always good for whatever the system has to offer you. The only exception is the perks, right? So the 150 basically is for perks benefits. Okay. So that's an advantage there. The disadvantage with buying directly with them is that it is expensive. You are probably paying at least 30 to 60% more to buy it directly from Disney versus resale. Okay, you're paying a lot of money, and when I say a lot of money, I'm talking the average contract is probably going to cost you no less than 15 grand for like 50 points, give or take. At some of the higher and more expensive resorts, but some of the cheaper resorts you can probably squeeze by with maybe about 8 grand or so for like 25 to 50 points, depending on how much you want to buy. So that's an advantage and disadvantage of buying direct. The advantage of buying resale is that you have access to almost every single resort that some direct channels aren't available. So, like for instance, if you wanted to buy Disney's Grand Californian, if you wanted to buy that direct, you wouldn't be able to buy that direct. And the reason for that is because their wait list is closed right now, and they're not accepting any new wait lists for the Grand Californian. And they're doing that because they're preparing for the Disneyland Tower, right? They're putting that pressure to buy. They're trying to build out that need to buy in California. So they're not doing anything right now with the Grand Californian. So that's pretty much the only resort that you cannot buy directly at Disney right now. But if you want resale, you always have an inventory that you can buy for resale because people are always selling the Grand Californian out. And the reason for that is it's just super expensive, and it's just really hard to kind of manage getting reservations there unless you own there directly. So there's a lot of resale inventory for that. So that's one of the advantages, is that no matter which resorts you want to buy, you have access to any of the other resorts. Another advantage to resale is that some of the older contracts have very, very special benefits that are no longer available for direct. One of the most obvious ones is Alani. So what they did is, originally when they released Alani for sale, they miscalculated the maintenance dues. Because they miscalculated the maintenance dues, there's actually two resale contract types that you can buy. One of them has the prorated or the adjusted maintenance due, which was sold to these original people that bought during that time frame. And they have one that's normal right now, where that's pretty much where everyone else pays. And the difference is almost about $2 a point. So, something that could cost like $680 for like the adjusted dues could be about $880 for the normal dues. It's a very rare contract. But if you find that contract, it means that whoever bought that contract originally, bought it through Disney during that time frame, and when they resell it out, that same benefit always follows that contract. It always follows that contract, with the exception of like Disney buying it back. When they buy it back, they have the authority to kind of revoke that and kind of issue it out with the new dues. So if you actually find out on resale, that's a really rare contract, but you can only get that now through resale. So that's a benefit of that, is that you can find those kind of things. Old Key West also has a extended deed that's available as well. So that's also kind of interesting. And then one more thing is, I believe Alani has a contract. When they were selling it out back in the day, you could purchase like a certain day that you wanted, or a certain time frame that you wanted, and every single year you're allowed that position, hands down. There is no conflict. There's never a conflict with that. All you have to do is just raise your hand and say, hey, I want to go to this day that I pretty much bought. And they're gonna have to figure out a way to give you that availability. I think there's some. I never dealt with that contract directly, but I'm pretty sure there's some kind of like a scheduling thing where you have to tell them ahead of time or something like that. But for the most part, it's embedded in the contract. You're entitled to that day. every single year, or whatever frequency you bought into. So those are some of the weird contracts that are there. Some of the downfalls of resale is that there's a huge amount of restrictions with it. These days, if you buy certain of the older properties, like like Polynesian, or if you buy Boardwalk, beach clubs, things like that, you can only use them within the original 14 that were available. I'm pretty sure that includes Grand California, and like you could use Grand California if you bought that as a resale, but you would never be able to stay at a new resort. And the new resorts start from anything later than the Riviera. The Riviera is one of the most recent ones that they had. If you bought resale at like Polynesian, you would not be able to use it at Riviera. You would not be able to use it at the new Disneyland Hotel Tower. You can never use it at any of the new DVC hotels that opened post Riviera era. Okay. The only exception to that is if you bought really, really old resale, like you bought resale, like I would like to say maybe 5+ years ago, those were unrestricted. They pretty much gave those people blue cards too, because they got grandfathered into the system. You were pretty much considered a full-fledged member at the time, but they got rid of that. They don't do that anymore. So now when you buy resales, you're pretty much either stuck with the original 14, you're stuck with only Riviera, or you're stuck with only the Disneyland Tower, right? So, like for instance, Riviera resale, if you buy Riviera resale, the only place you can use that is Riviera. Nowhere else. You cannot use it anywhere else in the system except for Riviera. So that's one of the downfalls, is that it's super restricted, and you may or may not have access to the benefits depending on when you bought that resale. In exchange for that, you could save upwards of 30 to potentially, I think I've probably seen up to 70% off of some of the resale contracts. So what that means is, like, these numbers are not live numbers, but I'm just using it for illustrative purposes. Let's say DVC charges 100 points per point direct, right? You would be paying like 30 points direct, or resale, pretty much. To just to put that into context of how much potential savings that you could get. You could pay upwards of $30 to $70 in like a resale per point contract, whereas you would have paid 100 per point with direct. So there's a huge savings involved with buying with resale, but you're super restricted. Okay. So now that we understand what DVC is and how to get points, ways to get points, the original question stands is, should you do it? So I've been an owner since 2018. I have 2 kids myself. They love Disney for the most part. When you're buying DVC, understand that you're buying DVC not as an investment. Okay. Because no matter how you look at it, if you're a logical person or you're an emotional person, no matter how you look at DVC, DVC is not an investment. Period. It is not an investment. You're signing up for prepaid rooms up until your deed expiration date, and you're signing up to spend more money every single time you visit using your DVC points. Okay? It is no way an investment. What it does do for you is that it allows you to go and stay on a Disney property with your family, so you can enjoy a little bit of a higher class kind of a setting, and you're building those memories with your family. Okay? That's the point of DVC. The point of DVC is not as an investment. You're not buying this to say like, oh, okay, well, 20 years down the road, I can sell it back out and I can make X, Y, and Z. No, you don't, because you're spending so much money to go back into the park. Whatever you're making off of your contract, you pretty much lost in spending it every single year. Okay? So this is not an investment. This is for you to make memories with your family. Okay? Another reason why you would want to do DVC is if you're a really, really big Disney fan. If you're a really big Disney fan, kind of like me, you're going to want to stay on property just for the convenience. It is a completely different setting from staying at the Grand Californian versus staying at a Marriott across the street at Disneyland, California. It is a completely different setting. It's amazing difference. Like literally walking from the gates of the Disneyland all the way to the Grand Californian gate. I mean, it is so close. Just the convenience factor of that is absolutely amazing. But that's what you get for paying and staying on a Disney property. You're paying for convenience. Okay, that's what DVC is convenience, but it's also um, just for your rooms. Very, very clear on that. You are paying just for your rooms with DVC, nothing more. You don't get anything else out of it. There's no ticket discounts. I think um, I know you get $20 off of like the Magic Keys that they have at Disneyland California, but I don't even think you get MSRP tickets off like regular like park hopper tickets or 1 day park hoppers. I don't think you get that. The only discount you get is like $20 off of your annual pass, and that's pretty much all they offer. Okay, so when you're buying DVC, you don't factor in the perks into play because really there's not really a whole lot of perks. I'm going to be real with you. There is not a whole lot of perks involved with that. Okay, so you're buying for the convenience too. Does that matter? Well, if you're an adult and maybe you have a significant other, that doesn't really matter because you guys don't really have anything tethering you down. Like if you needed to ride a bus at midnight or you needed to walk at midnight, it doesn't really affect you. It only affects you if you have a family and you have young children. And if you have young children and you bring them to Disneyland, by the time it's midnight, if you keep them out that long, they're not going to want to walk a step. They're not going to want to walk a single step. So if, being in close proximity to whatever park you're exiting out of is a huge plus for a beginning family because, children are just going to get cranky and it's not their fault. They've been up all day. They used up all their energy having fun and everything like that. They just pretty much want to go to sleep without like walking pretty much. So that's a plus. You're paying for less headache with the kids. Okay. So with that all being said, I personally think and believe that Disney Vacation Club is best for starting families. Okay. Anyone that has kids, you're newborn or like probably less than 8 years old, I would say this is great for them because for that duration, you just have access to, like a really close housing system, pretty much. You're building great memories with them as you're going with them to the parks. They're probably going to grow up loving Disney as much as you probably love Disney. Um, there's things like that are really, really good with it. But the downside to it is that DVC is not for everyone. You are paying the price of a basic car to get DVC. I'm talking, anywhere from 15 to 40 grand as a buy-in cost. Just to even start being able to use their system, you're spending 25 grand to like upwards of 40 grand to get anywhere from 100 to 250 points depending on whichever resort you're staying at. It is not cheap to do that. Most people don't have that kind of money lying around, and especially if you're a new family, you don't have that money lying around because your money is going to, paying for your kids pretty much, right? But if you did have that money lying around or you're willing to finance it with them, it's a great system. It's a great system to do it. But understand that when you're buying this, you're buying it for the experience. You're buying the experience time. That's what you're really buying. You're not buying anything outside of the experience time. And well, I mean, and housing too. Okay. So that's just my thoughts on that. Thanks for joining me. Like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications. Your support really helps me. See you next time. Hope that helped. Take care. Bye.